Ongava was set up as a rhino sanctuary in the early 90s, and the real focus has been the reintroduction of white and black rhino to this particular piece of land, bordering the southern border of Etosha National Park. Obviously in Southern Africa we have two different species that we're looking at. That's the white rhino and the desert adapted black rhino, southern black rhino. The white rhino on Ongava, privately owned, they were introduced in 1993. We were able to acquire a small breeding population from Umfolozi. These animals were introduced all the way from South Africa, and over the years they have been very successful in colonizing this area, and there's a healthy breeding population of white rhino on Ongava at the moment. As I mentioned earlier, we have done the paternal and maternal lines in our white rhino population, and what that means is we're able to create little starter packs for other game reserves in Namibia, where we can take unrelated white rhino males and females and take them off the property, capture them, and populate other farms or other game reserves in Namibia with white rhino starter packs. The black rhino in Namibia are all state owned, so the government maintains ownership of the meta population. They do this for a number of reasons, but what they have done is allowed communal and commercial game reserves around Namibia a custodianship role in looking after these rhinos. So Ongava, many years ago, in 1999, applied to be a member of what the government called the Black Rhino Custodianship Program, and we were approved as a custodian, which allowed us to get small numbers of black rhinos in those early years. They start off by giving you males, so they gave us a small population of male black rhino. Over a course of a year or two we were assessed, we looked after those rhinos fairly well, and then they gave us females. Those were introduced in 2001 and 2005, and that black rhino population has grown into a healthy breeding population of black rhino, which forms an important population in the Namibian meta population of black rhino.
We're viewing one of the water holes here on the game reserve. Stuart, this is one of the water holes. It's a man-made water hole, or one of them on the game reserve, where the animals come and drink?
Yeah, so all of the water points on Ongava are either manufactured by man for rainwater collection, or man-made in that we have built a water hole and we pump it. So there's no natural water source that occurs on this piece of land. So for example, this one behind us within a couple hundred meters of here there's a borehole which has been drilled, and that's got a submersible pump in it with a solar system on the top, which provides energy during the day, which then pumps the water out of the hole and into a storage facility, which then feeds the water hole. And then the other form of water we put out is rainwater. So we dig dams, and then once a year during the rainy season there are rivers on Ongava, well, Namibian rivers, which mean that they're dry, they don't have any water in them.
Yes.
But during the rainy season these rivers flow, and they then flow into these dams and fill up. And then these dams hold water for a number of months through the year. So they supplement the borehole water.
Yeah. Do you at any point close off any of these water holes to manage the movement of the animals?
It does happen, so we don't do it very very often, but yes, you can use it as a technique to move animals around, but you have to be very careful about the impact that closing waters has when looking at territories of anything from lion to black rhino, because water points are social points. So if you shut down half the water holes in one part of a game reserve, any game reserve, it means all those animals which were drinking at different spots have to come to one point, and that point, it's like us at the pub. So everybody comes into the pub for a chat, or it can be a point of conflict, so for a fight. So you have to take that into account as you open and close water points around a property.
Yeah. So the some of the water holes, I guess, can have a little bit of trouble with the elephants, like maybe the tank get pushed over, pipes get ripped out, but they're big animals, they drink a lot of water.
They have a significant impact on water sources in all sorts of ways. So, having elephant on a property, the damage they do to the infrastructure, so the pumps, the stands, the water points themselves, that's one aspect you have to manage. So they've got an incredible ability or affinity to find a leak in a pipe. So
Yeah.
if you've got a buried pipe and there's just a small leak in that pipe, they will find it, they will dig it out, they'll pick that pipe out, and then they'll pull your whole pipeline
Yeah.
out. So that's one aspect of elephants and waterholes, which is a challenge. I mean, it's very difficult to stop a 6-ton or 5-ton animal deciding
Yeah.
what it wants to do. The other thing is they often dominate a water point,
Yeah.
so other animals can't drink. In terms of domination, they also, they're defecating in the water points as well and changing the taste of the water, which perhaps animals like or don't like.
Yeah.
In our experience in this area, they generally don't like
Yeah.
it. Case in point is if you look at Etosha, when the rains come, which is our neighbour to the north, the moment the rains come, the
Yeah.
general game disperse from the water points because they can drink fresh water in the veld and not from a water point which has been
Yeah.
soiled by elephant. But you will see, I mean, even around the water points around us, all around here, you'll see indications that elephant are busy. I mean,
Yeah.
behind us we can see there's some mapani trees
Yeah,
that have been
yeah.
broken and damaged to the left of us, and that's all elephant.
Is
Just changing the landscape.
that's good. That's good for the reserve.
I don't know if you noticed while we've been driving around today, but we went through a couple of acacia glades,
Yeah.
and for us, seeing large acacia trees is it's a nice sight.
Yeah.
But actually, if you look at what's happening in that area where those acacia trees have been damaged or broken, you're seeing a lot more growth at a lower level, which
Yeah.
is a food source for animals such as black rhino, black-faced impala, kudu. Other browsers are now able to utilize
Yeah.
those acacia trees or acacia bushes now because they're no longer trees. The elephants have broken them down. Whereas as a tree, they're only really a food source for things like giraffe and elephant, which can get to the upper branches.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look very, very neat, but it's, I think, serving an important purpose for making food available for other animals.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. I've also had a question in the back of my mind, that this reserve was probably something before it became a conservation area. Was there anything behind that, or?
Well, I mean, it's been this. Actually, it's a wonderful part of the success of Ongava is that, before Ongava was formed in the early 90s, they were cattle farms. So
Yeah.
we had the property was made up of 4 old commercial
Yeah.
farms, and these farmers up here, they farmed with beef, to beef farms and goats. And you're fighting everything as a farmer up here if you're trying to do domestic livestock. I mean, you got to deal with the elephants who are destroying your water installations. You got to deal with the lions that are trying to eat your livestock. You got to deal with erratic rainfall.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't touched on that yet, but Namibia is a dry, arid environment, and I mean, just like last year we had a terrible drought. That can happen. So you're
Yeah.
fighting everything as a commercial farmer. If you change the land use to wildlife are much more robust
Yeah.
to drought. Provided you get some rain and there's some growth, the animals are utilizing not just grazing, but the bushes, browsers, the forbs, and everything else that is growing. Wild animals are much more adapted to dealing with disease. So you don't have to dip kudus and oryx.
Yeah.
They have
Yeah.
natural immunity to diseases that they'd face in the bush. So changing the land use from domestic animals to game has made the land more productive in terms of what it can carry, in terms of wildlife and large stock units. But the social impact for our humanity, for want of another word, in this region, the Kunene region, has been massive. I mean, if you took each individual farm unit as a farming unit before it was turned into a game reserve, you would have maybe had the farmer and his wife and maybe some kids or some children and maybe 1 or 2 farm laborers
Yeah.
working for him. So you'd have a social footprint of maybe 5 or 6 people per unit. So 4 farms, old cattle farms, 6, 7 people per farm. It's not very many.
Yeah.
Ongava Game Reserve at the moment employs over 170 people in, tourism, research,
Yeah.
Conservation, security. So has a much lower impact on the land
Yeah.
and a much higher social impact in terms of uplifting communities in our area and positively affecting the economy of Namibia.
Yeah, that's amazing. Seems like we got some rhinos coming to the water hole.
We're
Rhino.
we're quite lucky in our water at the moment in this part of the world, in that as you move south towards Uchu,
Yeah.
it gets quite a lot deeper. But most of our water is within sort of 30 meters from the surface,
Yeah.
which is boreholes go in depth. In Namibia is quite shallow, so we've been quite lucky to have an abundance of water.
Yeah, and this is good water.
Yeah.
Very nice and clean.
Lots of minerals.
Yeah.
So, but good quality.
Yeah, good.
We actually at our main lodge, we have a bottling plant there where we
really?
Yeah, we take water out of the borehole. It goes through a purification process, so it removes some of the salts in the water, because there's quite a lot, and then it goes into bottles, which we then serve to our guests who come and stay with us.
Wow.
So basically, when you stay with us, you're drinking the water from underground as well.
Yeah, wow, what a great thing. Good for the body.
Yeah, good for your teeth.
Yeah.
You'll see that we've got, you've got the concrete water hole, which is a little bit unsightly, but there are animals that prefer to drink clean water, and we always want to have a clean water source for animals. And then we have an overflow, which is for animals to wallow in and roll in, so elephant, rhino, mountain zebra, they love the mud as well, funny enough. So we have both on sort of offer for the animals, so that they can pick and choose what they want, and you'll see that as a common theme throughout all the water points on Ongava. Well, one of the issues with having just a natural depression and having water in it is that this area, and Etosha as well, you get anthrax, which occurs naturally in the soil.
Oh, really? Yes.
So you at certain times of the year, or if you have an abnormal rain season, either too much or too little, this tends to bring out events of anthrax, which tends to develop in certain species. So we've been unfortunate to have it many years ago in our white rhino. We lost 2 white rhino to anthrax previously, but since then we vaccinate on an annual basis to make sure that the animals are not susceptible to anthrax. But you also get it in the wildebeest and the oryx.
Yeah.
It just seems to come about every few years.
But that's natural anthrax.
Completely natural, occurs in the environment. So what happens is an animal will die of anthrax. The little anthrax bacteria is quite hardy. It sporulates, so it forms a hard, basically, shell around itself. And then this carcass, as it degenerates into the earth, that little bacteria can sit in that state for quite a number of years. And then should the right conditions come along, it can then become active. So quite an interesting sort of disease that we have that's sort of in this area naturally.
Yeah, but it doesn't ever control the populations naturally.
We haven't had an outbreak that has caused severe numbers or severe loss of a particular species. No. We have had that in this area with rabies.
Yeah.
So rabies you do get. I mean, the vectors that are common in our area are jackal and the kudu antelope.
Yeah.
They are particularly susceptible to rabies because of the way they feed and their social structure.
Yeah.
And so we have in the past, as a result of jackals being rabid and then passing that on to kudu, we have had losses of kudu to rabies in Ongava. It's common throughout Namibia.
Yeah, so. That's true. That's exciting, guys. We got some 3 white rhinos coming to the water hole. We're just gonna tone down our voices, but I'm sure they can hear us. It's quite amazing as well when they start drinking. They sip the water rather than chunking it up, and being such a big animal must drink a lot of water, but doing it so silently. We'll keep an ear out to hear if we can hear any noise from the water being sipped up. And of course they are a bit cautious. We are being patient because these animals are a little bit wary about us being here. They are relaxed, they're just checking us out, and then if they get they get comfortable enough, they'll come in and drink, probably all 3 of them. It must take about 60 liters or
so adult white rhino is 70 liters
70 liters
a day, I think that's the estimate.
Yeah. I think as they're walking in there, they're keeping their ears on us. I think they're just trying to judge how far we are from them. And again, one of them just kind of stopped short because it might have gotten a scent.
But you can see since the first one has come to water,
Yeah,
the other two have come
all
in
the
much
other two,
quicker.
there's
Yeah.
like more, a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, somebody else has taken the first sort
Yeah.
of the big step.
You'll also see a lot of times the tail, when they're relaxed, it's hanging
Yeah.
quite nice and loose. But when they're disturbed or a little bit anxious, it curls up, and that tells you that they're a little bit nervous.
There's also quite a lot of vocalization that goes
Yeah.
on between white rhino. Most people don't know about it, but if you actually listen to them as they chase around after each other, the little ones, the calves are looking for their mums. There's a whole bunch of vocalization that goes on between white rhino. It's quite an interesting thing that I
Yeah.
think people are starting to look at now. Because they're kind of thought of as a fairly silent animal in terms
Yeah.
of they're not like a lion or an elephant who make large, recognizable sounds. But there's definitely a lot of vocalization that goes on with them.
Yeah.
And this is sort of kind of typical your little buddy group, so
Yeah.
a couple of friends together, all youngsters, all between
Yeah.
the ages of sort of 3.5 and 5.5.
Regardless of male or female, yeah.
At that
just-
age it doesn't matter, no.
Yeah.
They're just looking for friends.
Yeah.
They really don't like being on their own.
Yeah.
So I don't know, we were talking just earlier about the
Mhm.
sort of males having quite thicker horns and females having
Yeah.
thin horns. If you look at the first two animals, you can already see that. So the middle one is I think a male,
Yeah.
and you can see the base is a bit thicker.
Yeah. I mean, it
Yeah.
seems smaller, but it's the base
So
of
the
its
animal
horns are thicker than
Is-
in the first
yeah,
one.
it's
so-
younger, but
Yeah, you really can see that.
yeah.
Anything else coming?
No. I don't think so. I don't know where those others are that are on the other side. You often see the youngsters come in a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
They're not quite sure what they're supposed to be doing with their whole day, so they normally come to the pub a little bit earlier than the older animals, who are
Yeah.
a little bit more secure in what they do on a daily basis. So you often see young black rhino, young white rhino come in early, have a drink, and then they sort of hang around and wait for other rhinos to arrive,
Yeah.
and then interact.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it seems like as the sun is going down, there's a cool breeze coming in, so the movement of air, the smells are moving around, so they tend to get that waft of air and then start snorting. And
Did you see how the one at the back moved though? So they go into these sort of defensive positions where their bottoms go together and
Yeah.
their heads
yes,
stick
yes,
out.
like soldiers.
Yeah, everyone looking in a different area. So what you don't often see in white rhino is a tail missing or an ear missing, but
Mhm.
in black rhino you often have adult black rhinos who are missing an ear or missing a tail or missing both ears or both
Yeah.
ears and a tail. And what happens is when the black rhino cows are very small calves, they hide their calves, so
Yeah.
they don't take them with them to water. So they leave them quite far, a couple of kilometers away from the waterhole, hidden in some thick bush. The adult female goes to the water, it drinks, and it then returns to
Yeah.
the calf. But in that period where the calf is alone, sometimes they get discovered by hyena. And the skin's quite thick on a little rhino, even a small sort of couple of month-old rhino. And so the only thing that the hyenas can get hold of is the ears or the
yes.
tail. So they can pull off the ears, pull off the tail. I've got
Yeah.
one little black rhino who's got a bit bigger now, but he's lost both his ears. He's still got his tail, but he's lost both his ears to
Wow.
hyena, so he's earless.
Sure.
And it's quite
Yeah.
quite entertaining because they seem to remember that. Black rhino don't like predators at all.
Yeah.
Whereas white rhino tend to tolerate them. They walk
Yeah,
past them. They
yeah.
don't seem to feel threatened by lion or hyena. So often you'll have lion lying at a waterhole at night, and rhino will come in. The white rhino will walk past, have a sniff, then go for a drink, and then leave.
Yeah.
black rhino, they'll come in, they'll see the lion. The first thing they do is charge at the
Yeah.
lion or the hyena, chase them away, and then they'll come and have a
Yeah.
drink. They just don't like predators.
Yeah, it seems like you have one with black shoes on. A couple of Yeah, it's amazing that, you know, we're sitting out here viewing these magnificent animals, and I'm just thinking, you know, if we keep the conservation going, you know, my children and their children's children would be able to see or have a sighting like this as we're having. So this is incredible, and it's great that the game reserve, what it's doing to keep that and protect these animals for future generations. That's incredible what you guys are doing here.
Thanks, Franco. Let's hope it continues. Let's hope we're successful.
Yeah. Doesn't want to steer away from the cool mud. Yeah, it seems that they're off to enjoy another wonderful night grazing. But that was exciting.
Yeah, it
It's
was
an
great,
amazing experience.
I was super relaxed.
Yeah. I think one of them does not want to leave. I think that cool mud is such an amazing effect on it. What a wonderful day this was. A great ending. And thanks, Stuart, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Franco. It was great. It was
Fantastic.
super relaxed. Nice to see them.
Awesome.